What if everything you knew about modesty, shame, and freedom was flipped upside down? Imagine a place where clothing is optional, not for shock value, but because the human body is seen as something completely natural. A culture where nudity isn't hidden, judged, or exploited, but celebrated as part of daily life. Today, we step inside a world that challenges our deepest assumptions. This is what life is like in a nude African tribe, and the footage you're about to see will truly open your eyes. Introduction: a different kind of normal. In the Western world, the idea of walking around naked might raise eyebrows or spark controversy. But in parts of Africa, there are tribes where nudity is not just accepted, it's the norm. In fact, for many of these communities, clothing is more of an exception than a rule. It's not about sexuality. It's about simplicity, survival, and tradition. So how did this begin? And what does it actually feel like to live in such a society, where nudity isn't taboo? To answer that, we'll journey deep into the villages of Namibia, Ethiopia, and South Sudan, home to some of the most misunderstood tribes in the world. Names like Himba, Mursi, and Surma might not ring a bell yet, but by the end of this video, they'll leave a lasting impression. Historical roots: why nudity was never a problem. Let's rewind time. Before colonization, before globalization, before the arrival of European norms, African tribes lived with a deep respect for nature and the human form. Bodies weren't something to be hidden. There were no fashion trends, no obsession with covering up. Instead, what mattered was function, protection from the sun, carrying tools, or decorating the skin with natural paints. Tribes like the Himba in Namibia still hold on to these traditions. Women walk proudly with red ochre smeared on their skin. A mixture of butterfat and iron oxide, not for vanity, but to protect their bodies from the harsh desert sun. The result? A deep, earthy beauty that turns heads across the globe. But here's where things get even more interesting. Cultural beliefs, beauty, identity, and respect. In these tribes, nudity is not erotic. It's not provocative. It's not meant to attract or offend. It simply is. Young girls grow up topless, surrounded by women who teach them the values of their culture, not through sermons, but through example. Breasts are not sexualized. Skin isn't scandalous. What's beautiful is confidence, community, and strength. Men, too, often wear minimal clothing, loincloths, beads, and ornaments that hold symbolic meaning. And when ceremonies happen, marriages, initiations, or coming-of-age rituals, nudity is often part of the tradition, not out of spectacle, but sacredness. Daily life: what living in a nude tribe looks like. So, what's daily life like? Children play freely in the sun, women gather at the waterhole, men return from hunting trips, all with little or no clothing. But no one bats an eye. There's no shame. No giggles. No discomfort. In fact, the community's tight bond comes from transparency, literally and emotionally. When everyone's body is visible, there's less room for insecurity, less judgment, less objectification. Think about that for a moment. Could it be that covering up actually causes more obsession than letting go? Children grow up in tight-knit groups, learning by doing, watching adults work, play, and live in harmony with nature. Respect for ancestors and spirits is common, and many tribes follow belief systems that are rooted in deep spirituality, nature worship, or animism. The clash with modernity, tourism, cameras, and controversy. As the world becomes smaller, curiosity grows. Tourists, researchers, and documentary crews often travel to these communities, some with pure intentions, others seeking sensationalism. The term naked tribe, nude tribe, or even more provocative labels like tribe sex and African porn start flooding the internet. But let's be clear, what outsiders see as exotic or erotic is, to the tribe, just life. This misunderstanding creates tension. Some tribes feel exploited. Others try to adapt. A few even start charging fees to be photographed, turning their normal life into a tourism business. Life beyond clothes, culture, climate, and community. In many traditional African tribes, nudity is not seen through the same lens as in the Western world. It's not associated with shame or sexuality. Instead, it's simply a way of life, shaped by environment, tradition, and community values. In these tribes, especially those living in remote areas with warm climates, minimal clothing is practical. The body is not hidden or taboo, it's natural. Tribal members, including children and adults, grow up with a deep sense of body acceptance. Nudity here does not carry the weight of embarrassment. It carries the history of centuries of cultural evolution, one where the human form is seen as strong, beautiful, and normal. Men and women often have distinct roles, but these vary greatly from tribe to tribe. Some societies are deeply communal, where elders lead with wisdom and traditions are passed down through generations not by books, but through song, movement, and oral teachings. But at what cost? Is their culture being preserved, or sold? Lessons for the outside world, rethinking shame. Here's the part where it gets personal. Watching these communities live so freely makes us question our own beliefs. Why do we attach shame to the human body? Why do we judge others, or ourselves, based on how much skin we show? These tribes may be labeled as primitive or backward, but in many ways they are more advanced in self-acceptance and mental peace. They don't obsess over body image. They don't compare waistlines or cup sizes. Their sense of identity runs much deeper than that. And perhaps we have something to learn from them. But life in these tribes is not just about how people dress. It's about how they live, together, connected to the land and to one another. They farm, hunt, build homes from mud and wood, and gather food from forests and rivers. Social life revolves around storytelling, dancing, rituals, and ceremonies that mark milestones like birth, adulthood, marriage, and harvest. Beyond the nudity. Yes, the topless girls. The nude bodies. The bare skin. That's what drew the world's attention. That's what triggered the headlines. But that's not the real story. The real story is about connection. About culture. About choosing a different path in a world that tries so hard to fit everyone into one mold. So, next time you hear the term naked tribe, don't just see skin. See strength. See history. See humanity. If this story challenged the way you think, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe for more eye-opening journeys into the world's most misunderstood cultures. And drop a comment below. What did you find most surprising about life in a nude African tribe? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next deep dive.